Hey everyone, welcome back to All Tommy Farms, and today we're going to be getting into a new video. And before we get into the video, please go on and click the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Let's go on and get into the video. Hello everyone, welcome back to the to another Wildwoods beekeeping podcast. Thank you all so much for joining in tonight. So we have 6 people on for the time being, and I actually kind of wasn't really able to promote the live stream in time. I was kind of late on doing that, so it might kind of be a slow start tonight. But I see some regular folks coming in, so we'll give some people some time to join in, and then we will get into tonight's topic. So I kind of want to get real before we get into tonight's topic. We'll let some people jump in. But recently, we had some cold weather, as everybody knows. On Saturday, the high was like 29, the low was 17. It's really, really cold this weekend. But today it was a totally different story, and tomorrow too. We're soon going to be getting into some more warmer weather, and I'll be talking about that later on after tonight's topic, which I'll get into kind of what we're talking about in a second. But we're gonna have some more warmer weather coming up. But we will probably still have some cold snaps. But I expect some more warm weather, which is in the forecast for down here in southeastern Alabama. So I see some folks in here, regular folks. I see Pastor Larry, Miss Jan, and Miss Leanna from Hallelujah Bee Farm. Richard B. Collector Rick, thanks for checking in. That's Richard. And Keith from Half Tracks and Honeybees over there in North Carolina. That's right, North Carolina. So tonight's topic that I'm going to be talking about tonight is early spring mistakes that cost beekeepers colonies. And I know for most beekeepers right now, it's not really that time of year. It's not really spring. It's not early spring. And right now for us, it's not really early spring either. We're still kind of, I would consider it late winter. Because usually we're able to do stuff down here in February. Here soon, mid-February, is when a lot of people start doing splits. Not me, but many folks down here do. But this is for early spring. So right now in your area, if you're up north, this really might not be the time to do anything right now. It's still winter in most people's area. But for southern folks, we're kind of getting closer to spring and early spring. A lot of beekeepers can, especially newer beekeepers, most more experienced beekeepers don't make any mistakes. They're used to their climate and their location, so they usually don't have any issues. But a lot of new beekeepers who don't know a lot about early spring and what to do, they don't really have their ways of doing things, because I have my way of kind of going into spring, and other people have their ways. So everybody has their own methods. They have their own ways of doing things, which is great. But many newer beekeepers don't know what to do. So we're kind of guiding this towards newer beekeepers and some intermediate and even experienced beekeepers as well. So everybody, this is for everybody. That's tonight's topic. Is early springs some mistakes that many beekeepers make. I see Tom, Mike. I think Tom is from Ohio. I can't remember where everybody's from. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think from Ohio, up there, up north. Mike Tangway, thanks for checking in, Mike. Good to see you. All right, so I guess I'll go ahead and let me pull up my presentation real quick. It's gonna take me just a quick second because like I said, I was kind of late doing things tonight, so wasn't really able to like push the live stream out. I usually put out posts earlier. If you noticed, I put some posts out a little bit later than I would have liked to. So many people might just be starting to see some of that stuff. So I apologize for that. I usually do that to get the live stream out there for folks ahead of time so they can come on here. I kind of got late at that. I see Philip. Hey, Philip, RTX Honeybees. I appreciate you checking in. I'm just putting up my presentation real quick. Just take just a second. There we go. See if that looks good. I'm gonna put this on full screen. There we go. So as usual, when I'm doing this presentation, I'm sure many more people will be joining in because it's still kind of early. So many more people will be joining in as time usually goes. Because usually during my live streams, a lot of people like to join in around in the middle mark. So right when I done my presentation, usually more folks join in. So I apologize if I miss you. I will go back and see who joined in. If there's any questions, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I will go back and answer those later. I see at the last second, Jason Seaward 8506. Hey y'all, thanks for checking in. Appreciate you checking in. Just starting to talk about tonight's topic. If y'all have questions, feel free to ask those. I will answer those soon after this when I'm done with the presentation. So tonight's topic, as I've been mentioning, is early spring mistakes. So small decisions, early decisions can have big consequences, with colonies going into spring. Many colonies are fragile, during spring buildup. Mistakes often come from good intentions because every beekeeper has good intentions, but sometimes, they we'll be getting into it more later. A lot of times, a lot of newer beekeepers like to try to fix things that actually don't need to be fixed. And understanding timing is really important. And to understand timing, you can't really ask me that. You may be asking when should I do this? When should I do that? When should I split? When should I requeen my colonies if I need to requeen them? And various other scenarios or other things that you might want to do. That all depends on where you live. So your best bet, if you're kind of trying to figure out what time of year to do certain things, different tasks, you probably want to try to get in touch with a local beekeeper in your area, and they can probably be much more helpful to you than I can. Unless if you're in my area, then maybe I can be to some help to you. But if you're up north or in a different location than I am, it's always best to find a local beekeeper, because most time your local beekeepers have a lot more experience and they're in the same area, so they can tell you things that are more accurate than other beekeepers from different climates. So those are some early things. That's kind of what we're going to be talking about. Let's talk about why early spring can be risky. Why can it be kind of, you got to be careful. You can't overdo things early spring. And early spring depends on where you live. For us down here south, early spring is, mid-February, late February, March. For a lot of northern beekeepers, you can let me know what. I kind of want to get your opinion. You can kind of comment in the live chat. When does your spring start? When do you kind of, when is your time when your spring starts? I'm kind of curious to hear that. Early spring, your main flow, stuff like that. Our spring usually kind of starts early March. I think usually when things start rolling is March, but we can start doing stuff in February. You can do stuff earlier, but you do have to be a little bit more careful. All right, so why is early spring risky? You might ask. Well, you have, number one, really big, is you have rapid population changes. Early spring is whenever bees start to brood up, because a lot of times earlier in the year, I noticed it last year, we had a lot of pollen. Before our nectar flow started in, we had a lot more pollen. Pollen stimulates the queen to lay eggs. Now, nectar does that too, but pollen does it just as much or even more. Pollen is protein, and that's what stimulates the queen, the colony, to start raising brood. So, you're going to start having rapid population changes whenever your population is going to start going up. So you can do that yourself. I do that all the time, is stimulate my queen to start laying eggs, start to get my colonies to brood up. I want them to do that early, but you also have to keep in mind that if your colony isn't strong, if you don't have a lot of numbers in that colony and they're starting to raise a lot more brood that they can handle, then you're going to start seeing a lot of your brood starting to get chilled. And a lot of times you may be wondering, what does that mean? Well, for newer beekeepers, basically means you don't have enough bees to cover the brood, and you don't want that. So you just want to be careful whenever you're trying to stimulate, your queen. And what I mean by stimulate is try to get your bees to raise brood, and that's basically by feeding pollen patties and sugar syrup. I do that almost every early spring, and I'm going to do that again. It works great for me. Down south, you can do that much better than you can up north. If you're gonna in a northern climate, you do not want to try to get your bees to raise brood too early. I have Italians down here, and I'm down south, so that is bread and butter. But for northern beekeepers, that's the opposite. That it's just not really, doesn't really work. From what I've heard from a lot of other beekeepers, and because I've heard from a lot of other beekeepers too. I can't really speak for you northern beekeepers, so let me know what works and what doesn't for you. I always like to hear your feedback. Also, unstable weather patterns. That's a key one down south. I think some northern states can get affected, but mainly southern places get hit hard with inconsistent temperatures. I talked about it before, and I really, really, really do think that unpredictable weather, these weird patterns, inconsistent temperatures, kill bees more than varroa mites. Now, varroa mites are still an issue, but I do think these up and down temperatures is a really big issue, just as much as varroa mites. I've talked a lot about it to try to let a lot of newer beekeepers know that you need to watch your weather and keep your bees fed and do weight checks. I've talked a lot about that before. Don't need to go into it again. So watch out for unstable weather. Limited forage is available early spring, so a lot of times you'll have to feed. Which most of y'all know that you'll have to feed sugar syrup. You can feed pollen patty, just whatever you like to use. Usually early spring we'll have some pollen, just not sugar syrup. So usually early I feed sugar syrup. I don't usually feed pollen patties. I do have some pollen patties though. For Havilah sent me some free pollen patties, so I'm gonna try them out and try to get my bees to brood up with that as well. But usually early, we have a good amount of pollen. Also, early spring is whenever beekeepers start to interact with colonies more often, which isn't a bad thing, but you do also have to be careful not to over inspect your bees. And I've done that a lot before. That's kind of personal experience that I've a lot of times been too unintentional with my inspections, leading to distracting the bees too much. And I really do believe bees do get distracted. I've talked a lot about it with guests and with you folks who are watching right now about how whenever you're inspecting too much, you can be disrupting the colony. And that's early spring, main spring. That goes for all seasons. And I think it does cause an effect on your bees. All right, now let's kind of get more what's the word? Organized here. I try to stay as organized as possible. Here are the things that make that some mistakes that beekeepers make that can cost their colonies in early spring. So number one is opening hives too early. You don't want to open up colonies, like inspecting frames, whenever you have cold weather. You don't want, like right now, I would not inspect my bees right now. I know right now I have some warm weather. We have warm temperatures right now. Today was like 55. Still wasn't warm enough to inspect, but tomorrow the high will be 65, 63. Technically still warm enough to inspect, but I typically and prefer not to inspect right now. You also can stress the colony sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes if you can stress the colony. Number one main issue is you can chill the brood, even though it might feel warm to you. Whenever you open up brood frames too early and it's cold, you risk chilling brood and killing brood, because a lot of times early spring around this time of year right now, bees are brooding. I don't know if my bees are brooding because I haven't inspected any recently. Previous times before in the past, I've actually inspected in winter, in the middle of winter, like in December, in January, whenever we have 70, 65-degree days. I just don't do that no more, because you can risk killing the queen, chilling the brood. If it's a little colder, you can chill the brood. And also you can break, you could break the cluster during cold snaps. You don't want to do that either. So you want to be mindful. You can still inspect this time of year. It's okay, and I've done it before as well and haven't had any problems. Just keep in mind that you can sometimes accidentally kill the queen, which is a big one. You don't want to accidentally kill her because this time of the year there's no drones, and you might not be able to get a replacement in time before your bees start to crash down. Number two, sometimes you can feed at the wrong time. So a lot of times, some beekeepers might try to feed sugar syrup this time of year, and it's just too kind of inconsistent right now to start feed sugar syrup. Tonight the low's gonna be 31, so that's out of the window for me. I can't feed sugar syrup. If you feed sugar syrup this time of the year too early in February, now once you get more into late February down here, I'll start feeding sugar syrup. But a little bit more in early February, you can cause condensation in your colony due to feeding sugar syrup in a little bit more chilly weather. Maybe not 32 degrees, but still in the 40s and high 30s, which still can cause condensation. Also, it's a lot of times beekeepers don't feed when bees are actually light, so you want to do the opposite there. You do want to feed. This time of the year, if your bees are light and it's cold, you don't want to feed sugar syrup. You want to feed hard candy. That's what you'd prefer this time of the year. Now, you'd prefer your bees not to be light right now, but sometimes they are, and you have to feed, so you have to feed hard candy rather than sugar syrup. Sometimes you can, use the wrong feed type. And sometimes, most times you don't, but a lot of times you can trigger robbing behavior early on if you feed. Most times not. I put it in there because you can. Just kind of rare. But if you do have Italians, that's more likely, because Italians are more likely to rob each other. Genetics. All right, number three. I think this is really one I really wanted to talk about the most, because it's kind of a lot of beekeepers do, is accidentally and unknowingly add too much space too soon. And a lot of times beekeepers don't know that can hurt the colony. And usually this time of the year, you don't want to leave too much empty space in your colony. It's just you'd prefer not to add empty space. It's number one, they're probably not going to draw out frames right now. There's no nectar coming in the colony, so that's out of the window. You can't feed, and it's too cold to feed. Bees are unable to regulate temperature. That sometimes can slow brood development, and it can increase pest pressure due to so much space. A lot of times cockroaches, sometimes even mice, and other pests can start messing up with those extra space that the bees leave unattended, because there's not enough bees to go up there and fill up those extra boxes that you're putting on, and it's too cold, and they're going to probably go back and cluster. You want to keep the bees in as tight as you can, so it's okay. Like, for instance, I have a lot of colonies I usually leave them in singles this time of year. And I do leave some extra boxes on with honey on, but you just don't want to add too much space overly the top. It can cause some issues. Might not kill your bees, but it can cause some pest issues and can cause your bees unable to regulate temperature. Our number 4 is misreading brood patterns. So a lot of times, beekeepers, especially new ones, can confuse spotty brood with failure, overreacting to normal spring patterns. A lot of times, requeening too early, and also missing signs of real issues. So let's kind of start out, kind of get back a little bit more organized. But this is a big one. A lot of beekeepers will confuse a spotty brood with failure and think that just because there's a little bit of a spotty brood pattern, that must mean that the queen is a dud and you automatically have to go kill her and get rid of her. Usually earlier in the year, your brood patterns might not be 100% because it's still early. Also, because they're just getting back into brooding up, getting ready for spring. You also don't want to look at just one frame. I've kind of talked about it before. A lot of beekeepers just examine one frame and if they see a spotty brood pattern, they go and kill the queen. And that's just a little bit too soon. You got to inspect a lot more frames to be able to get a right measurement if your queen is indeed failing. You need a consistent pattern that will tell you that your queen's failing, because a lot of times it might just be a little period where where there's not a really sufficient nectar flow, and there you go. That's a lot of times what happens, especially during the dearth. I see that a lot of times during summer. I don't go automatically think that the queen's failing. I just give it some time once we get back into the flow, and then she goes right back perfect. So you just want, not that I'm not saying that you don't want to kill a queen. You just want to be mindful each way. So number 5, we're going to talk about over inspecting early on. And like I said, a lot of people right now are up north, so this might not always go with you. But I'm just kind of talking about early spring. So the early spring for you might be in a month. I don't know. Just depends on, I don't know much about of northern areas. I just kind of know much more about mine. But you don't want to over inspect your bees earlier on when you ride into spring. That can disrupt brood cycles. Like I said again, we kind of touched back on this again, creating unnecessary stress. And sometimes a lot of beekeepers do, and I talked about it earlier, fixing things that actually aren't broken. And that happens a lot, and I've done it before, going into the colony thinking there has to be something wrong with the colony, and you try to fix something, and it actually doesn't help the colony in any way. I've done that a lot before. Just natural, especially with newer beekeepers, thinking that there's something for them to fix, that there might not be something right, and a lot of times your hives they're fine. So that's just a common thing with newer beekeepers. I did it a lot myself as well. All right, number 6, and this is really one I really wanted to talk about the most because we experience this exact thing down here in Alabama, and I'm sure most southern states deal with it all the time. And I think it's one of the main reasons why a lot of southern the southern U.S. Our southern climate, a lot of our bees die is due to inconsistent temperatures. And what I mean by that is a lot of times you'll have a warm day, 70 degrees, nice and warm, but then the next day it just goes the next day it goes down to 24. And then the high will only get up to like 40, 35, and that just it can create a couple issues. Number one, whenever you have those that warm weather, you'll have bees flying, and then overnight it gets so cold a lot of times they might run out of food. A lot of times you have warm days followed by colder nights, which is the same thing as I kind of just mentioned. Sudden freezes after inspections. a lot of people that can cause some issues as well, because a lot of times whenever you're inspecting colonies in spring, even in April for us, a lot of times around Easter we'll have a cold snap, and that happens usually around Easter. We'll have one cold snap, and then we're usually done with cold, but sometimes every once in a while. But usually around that time, you might maybe around that time of year in April, March, you might inspect, and then right after a little bit later, it gets cold, and then the bees are all spread it around, and this not just inspections, but even just for you're not inspecting. A lot of times the bees are, when it warms up, they break cluster, but then when it gets back cold, a lot of bees get stranded and unfortunately not able to make it. So you get a lot of problems. You also get a lot of feeding interruptions. This is just one of the most annoying things for me as a beekeeper is whenever I see some warm temperatures like a week, and I start feeding sugar syrup for a week, and then it gets cold, and you got to take everything out. So it starts to interrupt feeding, in April and March, sometimes even late February, and brood loss from exposure. So you cannot underestimate your weather swings, because it can definitely impact your colonies and can cause colonies to collapse. All right, number 7 is a basic one for many new beekeepers and even beekeepers who are experienced, is not having equipment ready. And this is not one that is going to cost your call. I don't think it's going to cost you a colony. I don't think a colony is going to die because of it, but it's just a worthy mention I kind of want to talk about. You want to. It's a lot of times beekeepers don't have extra boxes or frames. Delayed responses to growth, so you might miss opportunities to relieve congestion, which whenever they get congested, they many times will swarm. And I mentioned it before, just because you add space ain't going to stop them from swarming. If a colony wants to swarm, they're going to swarm. But you adding space does help in some way. It does in a little way. But like I said, if they are starting in that, usually in March swarm season, if they start wanting to swarm, they're gonna swarm no matter what. So in that case, you got to make splits, whether you want to do the Mari method, walk away split, just whatever you prefer in a split method. But anyway, that's not really what we're talking about, but just kind of want to mention it there, and can increase swarm pressure, like we just mentioned. All right, so this is the last thing that can cause colonies to struggle, to not make it, through die in early spring. So number 8 is reacting instead of planning. So many beekeepers will make decisions based on fear, thinking that there's something wrong when there's actually not. We call this proactive versus reactive beekeeping. You want to be proactive. You don't to react. You want to be able to plan stuff. You also want to a lot of beekeepers copy advice, without context. That's a big one too. A lot of beekeepers will see a lot of southern beekeepers will see videos from maybe a northern beekeeper or something, or vice versa, and automatically think, because it worked for them, it's going to work for me. And a lot of times they don't hear context behind that. That's why all the time when I'm talking about this type of stuff, I always say it depends on your climate. So whenever I say that, then a lot of beekeepers, kind of start talking about climate stuff and kind of what works for them. And again, if you're in a different climate than me, if you're a new beekeeper, I would say try to find a beekeeper in your area that will really help you a lot, because those more experienced beekeepers in your area will help you out a lot, and they have pretty much the same temperatures as you do, same time of when the flow starts, and various other things. A lot of times treating symptoms, not causes, and losing sight of the big picture. So you always want to be proactive, not reactive to situations. All right, let's kind of talk about what you need to do instead for your newer beekeepers and even some intermediate beekeepers as well. Number one, I would say slow down and observe. You don't want to rush into things. Don't just, rush into decisions. If you have a decision you need to make, think through it before you do it. Make sure it's what your bees need. So slow down and observe your colony. The bees will teach you a lot. Taught I've learned that myself. The bees will teach you a lot. Plan before the season starts. I mean, that's a basic one. I think everybody knows that one. Just make sure you have some ideas of what you want to do. Splits. You have an idea of maybe if you want to grow, or if you want to kind of start cutting back a little bit. If you're kind of starting to get a little bit too big, I know a lot of beekeepers who are doing that, who kind of want to backtrack a little bit because they're getting a little bit too big. You also want to let the bees tell you what they need. Learn from the bees. They'll teach you a lot, and also make changes, within your colonies, with a purpose. So be intentional whenever you're inspecting your bees, whenever you need to make decisions, when you need to make changes, inside, within your colony. All right, so key takeaways is early spring mistakes can add up fast. It's not really just one big mistake. It's a lot of just smaller ones that can creep up all up once once at you. Timing matters a lot. It really does. And to know your timing, it depends on where you live, of course. And we'll be talking. We'll talk about that as well throughout the live stream. I always talk about timing, and I always kind of mention when I do stuff, because usually, so what I usually do, just to kind of give an example when we're talking about timing, for me, I don't know about you, but for me, I'll start feeding around late February, early March, get the bees built up around April, and do splits then. That's usually kind of what I do. And what I usually do is I let the bees make swarm cells, so I don't choose the time to split. I don't do that. A lot of beekeepers do. I let the bees create swarm cells and use those swarm cells and make splits that way. And if you don't, I can't really explain it all that great, but basically what I did was let the bees make some swarm cells, a double deep. I made 4 colonies out of 1 5-frame split. So that's basically what I did, and all those colonies are doing great. I haven't checked them in about 2 weeks, so maybe I don't know. I think they're all still good. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe with all the cold weather, one might have not have made it. Wouldn't be surprised, but I think all of them are still good. I haven't checked them a lot, and that's one thing I've been doing this year, is kind of leaving them alone, letting them do their thing, and just checking weight and replacing food. And I plan to do that tomorrow or the next day, sometime this week, and check some food to make sure they're still good. Also, early on, you don't want to intervene too much. Like I just mentioned, I don't intervene this time of the year too often. It's often better if you don't intervene as too much. You don't want to go in you don't want to go in every couple of days. That's just a little bit too much. Like maybe every week and a half, early spring, whenever you want to do your inspections in spring. 2 weeks is fine as well. And again, preparation beats reaction. Being proactive beats reaction. All right, so that's it of tonight's topic. I'll be discussing some other stuff here in a second. I see we have 19 people on here. I figured some more people would join in as we got going, so I appreciate y'all joining in. On your way in, make sure to click the thumbs up button. Smash that thumbs up on your way in. I greatly appreciate that. It helps me out. It helps get the live stream out to more people. Hopefully help somebody out. All right, so I'm gonna go back and see what everybody was kind of talking about. Let's see. Tom, maybe Friday, but for sure midweek next week with above 32 temperature. Hey, Brian, Flower Street Farm Bees. Hello from Colorado. Thanks for checking in. SMA, when are you going to add pollen patties? I haven't added pollen patties on. I'm still just feeding fondant right now. I actually have a lot of fondant on right this second. Usually early spring. I'm not going to add any on right now. I usually do that whenever temperatures warm up, and usually whenever I'm trying to build up my bees. I usually in the past use sugar syrup. I haven't used pollen patties a whole lot. In my 8 years keeping bees, almost, I guess about 9 years keeping bees, somewhere around there. But Havilah sent me some pollen patties, some free ones, for me to try out, and I'm planning to use those and see how they work. Probably for me down south, it's probably gonna be sometime mid to late February. That's usually kind of early spring for us. Early March too. Good evening, everyone. Smash that thumbs up. Thank you very much. You make sure y'all do that. Thanks for checking in, Randy, the Tar Heel Beekeeper. Appreciate it. I have one that I thought would die for sure with the freezes. Very active at the entrance today. Maybe robbing. I'm checking them tomorrow. Yep, it got pretty cold this recent weekend. On Saturday, the high was 29 degrees. It was cold outside. I was gonna go out there and do some stuff, but that didn't really last long. It was just really, really cold. But Sunday was much better and much warmer, and today was just much, much warmer and much better than Saturday and Sunday. Now, these up and down temperatures can kind of cause some confusion with my bees, and I've talked a lot about that before. Just gotta watch that. Hey Grayson, hey Russell. Thanks for checking in, Russell Amon. Good evening, everybody. Dennis Sherrill, thanks for checking in, Dennis. I appreciate you. Down here in Alabama. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll answer them if you have any. Good evening, everyone. Kodiak Farm Bees Lee from Louisiana. Thanks for checking in, Lee. Appreciate you. That groundhog has to be talking about the northern states for 6 more weeks of winter. I saw that today, that 6 more weeks of winter. Usually you just gotta, down here it's always weird. You don't never know. Sometimes you'll have a week of warm weather, and I'm going to pull up my temperatures in a second to show y'all. Next Wednesday, the forecast, that day, the high is going to be 70. That I don't always automatically think, oh, spring is here with those sudden warm temperatures, just because it just can go up and down so quick down here. Unbelievable. Grayson, when will you have a live stream with Dirt Rooster and Mike Berry at the same time? That is a good idea, Dennis. I'll have to find a way to get that set up. I haven't thought about that, but that's a good idea. I've tried before to get. Actually, one time, what I tried to do one time, it never really worked out, but I was going to try to get Bob, Benny, and Chris Werner on at the same time. And if y'all remember recently, like last year, I actually was able to get Chris Werner on a live stream. I think and it was really, really fun chat. I was trying to get them on one at the same time. I think that would have been a fun chat, but it just sometimes they're each guest schedule might be a little bit different. So that would be a fun one, and I might try to sometime get into the works. It'd be a fun one. I definitely would think. Thanks for bringing it up, Dennis. Good evening, Grayson and friends. Thanks for checking in. Keith from Larimore Farms. I appreciate you. Great job, Grayson. Appreciate you. Brian. The ads just won't stay away. Yep, the ads love to they're everywhere in here. And look, I make money off of ads and stuff, but I just wish they would create an option where you could just get rid of ads on certain ones and not have it monetized, because on live streams I don't really care about ads. I don't make much money on live streams with ads. It just really gets annoying for you guys, really. So let's see. I'm still going through some comments real quick. I see Jack and Danae. Hey, Bee Hong family, thanks for checking in, Jack and Danae. We have 24 folks on here. We're getting more closer to the spring season, so I've been getting a lot more people coming on, because usually in winter it's just not a lot going on. People are just kind of taking a little vacation off, and we're kind of getting closer. We can feel it, even though the groundhog said 6 more weeks of winter. We can still feel spring getting really close, and I'm really looking forward to this season, and I think it's gonna be good. Gonna try to expand a little bit. But in the next couple of live streams, I'll kind of talk a little bit about what I kind of want to do. on a maybe on a different separate live stream. I gotta go. Good job, Grayson. Thanks for checking in tonight. Tom, I appreciate you. Grayson, you're the man. I don't think I could handle being by myself doing the chats. Besides, I might break my phone. Yep, I get you. You know, sometimes it can be tough doing it by myself, you know, without a guest or whatever. I try to get guests on sometimes. Those are fun, you know, with other folks and people enjoy them. A lot of times, that's why I do these presentations, is to have about 30 minutes, you know, to do a presentation, and then have about 15 minutes, just 15 20 minutes with the chat. So I'm not sitting on here for 60 minutes just talking to the chat. That might get kind of boring for some folks. So I like to put up some presentations and have specific topics, and then at the end, just have a little bit of fun time, you know, just kind of talking bees. That's kind of what I've been doing the last last month, and I think people are enjoying it. I think that's kind of my process. But thank you, I appreciate it. These live streams are very, very fun. I enjoy doing them. I lost two to the freeze in Jester. I lost 2 colonies to the. I get you, in the freeze in Jester boxes. I should have placed them in on top of a bigger hive with a double screen board. I've overwintered with some of those boxes before. I think I know which boxes you're talking about. I think they're plastic that you're talking about. There's multiple different plastic. You know, you have Pro Nukes, and then another one, Pacific. I can't remember the name of them, but I think I know what you're talking about. I've used them. I think what I know you're talking about, I think I've used them before too. I think there was one time where I was kind of going into winter with one. I usually during spring, summer, I'll use plastic nukes. I'll keep them in it for a little bit. But in winter, I put them in like some harder boxes, like a nukes. And when we're kind of talking about nukes, I actually have 2 colonies right now that are in nukes I'm overwintering in nukes, and they're looking real good and real nice and heavy. Love your live feeds. Thank you, the Beekeeper. Thanks for checking in. I think that's a new name, so thanks for checking in. I appreciate you. You're doing a great job. Thank you, SMA. I appreciate that. So, I almost forgot because I was just kind of talking with you guys for a second. I was gonna kind of talk about the weather, and y'all let me know what's going what's going on in your area. So today the high was 53. The low tonight's 31. So there's kind of a thing with our inconsistent temperatures. And I said tomorrow was 63. It's actually 64, 1 degree higher than what I said. The low's gonna be 47. Those are some warm temperatures, and you could technically inspect. I just not going to. I prefer not to. You can. I'm not saying you can. I'm just saying that I'm just not going to. Just I don't want to risk killing queens or anything like that right now. So basically, Wednesday the high will be 54, low will be 32. That's not bad at all compared to what we had this weekend. Thursday the high will be 49. Still won't be terrible, but still gonna be kind of cold. The low will be 28, under freezing. The high Friday will be 59, low will be 36. And as you can see, I'm not going to go throughout everything else, but next Wednesday will be 70 degrees. The low will be 54. So there's my temperatures. Y'all let me know what's going on in your area, but it's warming up in Virginia also. That's good to hear. I know I'm sure up there it's getting pretty cold. I know a lot of you northern folks in Tennessee, I guess Kentucky too, and some other northern states have been, dealing with that, that Arctic blast or storm. Hope everybody's still doing okay up there. I heard that there's some power outages, a pretty good amount of them too. So hope everybody's who's up there is doing okay, and their bees are doing good. I see SMA. Are you going to sell nukes? And that's a good question. I actually was just going to mention that. I see some questions kind of talking about that. I was just about to mention it. So recently I did. If y'all wondering what that QR code, let me make sure that QR code's what I want it to be. But that QR code up there in the top right corner is actually a link or kind of, you can scan it, it'll take you to my Etsy shop. If y'all don't know, many of you probably already know, I've been kind of promoting it as much as I can, but I'll continue promoting it on every live stream just for you folks who are not aware of it, because YouTube just loves to not get the video out to everybody at once. I mean, it's just kind of weird. That's how the algorithm kind of works. It gives people some, and then it swaps. I notice that all the time. So many of you might have not heard of it, but I opened up an Etsy shop that had some stuff on it. As right now, I'm gonna put up a let me give me a second real quick. I should have had this ready, but I kind of late to it. But recently did open up an Etsy shop with some stuff on it. So right now I'm selling my honey. Of course, I mean, that's the thing that most everybody, puts on a shop if they're going to sell stuff. So as you can see, there's also one more listing as well. So right now I have 5 listings on there. If you want to check it out, let me give y'all a link real quick. You don't got to go over there and buy anything. You don't have to or anything, but I do try to make it as easy for you to access as possible, so you can check it out. Also, if you would, any of you who've ordered something and it's arrived, I would appreciate if you would leave a review. Only takes kind of like a comment. It helps me out. If you want to check it out, I'll just leave the link right here for you folks. So right now I have 5 listings on there. I have my hats right here, as you can see, with my logo. This logo was actually created a couple years ago, and I really like it. So it's a real good logo. My brother made it a while back. As you can see, I also have mugs as well. If you want to, mugs that I have my own logo on. Actually, somebody actually already bought it, and it already arrived to their location. Also, honey, actually selling nukes right now. So SMA, for your question, I am selling nukes right now. As you can see on the on the site there, I am selling 5 frame nukes, ones that I build. Handmade. I enjoy building stuff, so I wanted to put some stuff on there, some wood stuff, and plan to put some more stuff on there in the future when I build some stuff and get some photos. Pretty much things what I'm trying to do is get some good photos. So they look clean and good on there. Also, I kind of want to mention real quick for people who are looking at the wood and stuff, if you are interested, I do apologize, I really do, but the I got to charge for shipping. It's kind of expensive. These wooden stuff is just super expensive to ship because it's heavy in a pretty big box because it's actually assembled. So I might look into maybe selling them unassembled sometime, and that might lower down shipping costs. So we'll see about that. So those heavy stuff, it costs more, but the light stuff is much more cheaper shipping. So I charge for shipping just because if I didn't, I'd probably not really make much. I probably would be in the negative, so wouldn't want to be there. So I do apologize for that. It's just kind of how wood and stuff does, and I know that because when I buy a lot of like frames and stuff from like Premier Bee products, I love Premier Bee products. Or I kind of want to talk about that for a second as well. Frames, I like Premier Bee products. Frames are great. When I buy them, the shipping is kind of high because it's in a big box and pretty heavy. So just kind of want to mention that. And I got put a new listing on there. As you can see on the left hand side, I have some beehive stands, and many of you kind of commented and mentioned that y'all like my stands, like the way they looked and kind of how we built them. So as you can see, my stands are actually on a post into the ground, but the ones that in the picture, I actually just put 4 4x4s as legs. So if you wanted to, you could take all those 4x4s off on the corners and just put a post in the ground and do it that way, if you bought one. Or just leave it how it is if you want it to be more sturdy. So I just kind of wanted to share that out. The link is right there in the comment section below. I would appreciate it, if you check it out. No pressure in buying anything. Just would appreciate you checking out. Maybe favorite the Etsy shop. I think it lets you favorite. I think so. Kind of like subscribing, so you can easily access stuff to it. And the QR code's up there as well. So if you're like on a TV or anything and you can't really see the comment section, you can just screenshot it, or on your camera. So there's that. Look at some comments real quick. Some questions. I like using the double screen boards on my big hives to overwinter my nukes. I've heard a lot of people have success with that, and I don't do that, but I know that that's a good way to overwinter some smaller colonies, and really, really extremely helpful. Is it too early to feed sugar syrup? 1-to-1. I'm in zone 7. It's kind of early. I kind of mentioned it on the presentation. If you missed it, you can always scroll back and rewatch it when the live stream's over. But you want to be in warm temperatures. You don't want the temperatures being, I would say, under 32. But even if they do get into like the mid, even high 30s, you might want to kind of stick away from feeding sugar syrup as much as you can. You still can, but you'd want it to be a little bit more consistent. And you don't want it to be cold, because if it's too cold, you can have some condensation start to build up in your hive if you feed sugar syrup too early. Now, right now, when you're saying is it too early, it just depends on kind of what your temperatures are right now. If it's okay warm, not too cold, the lows are kind of mid 40s, maybe the low 40s, you could get away with it, and your hives aren't too cold, you could. You can do that. And if your colonies are low, you probably would want to or feed some fondant as well. You also feed pollen patties, just kind of whatever you want to do. Just depends on your location. I can't really speak for everybody. For me, right now, I'm not feeding any. I don't plan to do any sugar syrup right now. Just feeding some fondant, like some Havilah fondant. You can make fondant. I've made some fondant by my just homemade fondant. Sure, there's some other products on online as well. Have you considered just selling the plans instead? I haven't thought about that, but I do know a lot of beekeepers, or some woodworkers who do sell plans to to people, and which is I think that would be something that would work for multiple reasons. Don't gotta pay for shipping, still price it kind of a little bit lower. I think that would work. I've considered it. I think I will sometime, maybe. We'll see. I know a lot of a lot of woodworkers who do. I can't remember the one who did. I think it might have been Ricky from Horizontal Bees. I can't remember 100%. I can't say if he does or not. I believe he does, but I'm not really 100% sure. Can't really remember. I thought he mentioned it one time whenever I got him on a live stream. But that was a while back whenever I had him on. So if you haven't already, make sure to click that thumbs up button, smash it on your way in. I appreciate that very much. If you have any more questions, feel free to put them in the comment section. We are getting kind of close to 7, which is my end time, so we will get close to shutting it down. Not just yet, but pretty close. So tonight I really did enjoy this topic. I think it's an important one. I've been kind of lately talking about early spring, kind of getting ready for spring. That's been what I've been kind of focusing on for some newer beekeepers, and even some experienced beekeepers, getting ready for the season, because they'll be here before you know it. Winter came by fast. I mean, last year came by fast. The whole season. I mean, one second it was we were right in this position last year, and the whole season flew by fast. So unbelievable how fast time flies. And I'm looking forward to this upcoming season. I plan to do a lot of things. Kind of want to mention for a quick second, and I'll talk about it more in future videos and live streams about kind of what I want to do. I kind of want to expand again. I plan to do the same thing I did last year. If y'all kind of kept up with my videos, which I plan to do more vlogging videos here soon in the next couple of weeks once we get more into spring. Last year I kind of did some different type of splits. I did double deep colony. I let the bees make swarm cells and basically did splits that way. Put the queen, make sure there's no swarm cells with the queen in the 5-frame nuke, and then all the other splits, the 5-frame nukes had swarm cells in it, and I let those swarm cells hatch, and they went out and naturally mated, and then the hives did well, and they're still alive right now, and they're all doing good. Now we'll see. You can't really count your chickens before they hatch. I'm not gonna say I'm not really 13 for 13 yet until we get into spring, and all the bees are still all the bees still looking good because I haven't inspected any, so I don't really know what they look like. But from just opening the lids and seeing kind of how they look from the top, the last time I did, they're all looking good, and I really liking how they look, and their weight's good. Not burning through honey too fast, but I do plan here soon this week to go out there and check fondant, make sure they're not getting too low, and if they are, maybe try to put some more on there, refill them. The have a lot of fondant. I like that have a lot of fondant. I tried it out because like I said, Havelock sent me last year a bundle of stuff, some stuff that you can put in, some additives for sugar syrup, some pollen patties, and some fondant, a hive tool, and a hat and a t-shirt. I think that's what they sent, with their brand on it. So that was really nice of them. I still appreciate that from them to try out. And I did a video of it, kind of tried to promote it a little bit. I'm still going to promote it. I really do like it. I know many of you have had a lot of great things to say about it, and I'm one of those people too. I really like it, and I gotta check that tomorrow though to make sure they're not too low. I also kind of want to see how fast they've went through it. I'm kind of curious about that as well. Make sure they didn't go through it too fast. Don't want them, blowing right through it. Thanks for checking in. Hey, Grayson. Appreciate it. I think that was answering the beekeepers question. If feeding pollen and they're low on nectar, I would. Yep. All right, so I guess we'll kind of start wrapping things up here. We're getting close to 7. I appreciate y'all so much for kind of tuning in, joining in. On your way out, whenever you leave, make sure to click the thumbs up button on your way out. I greatly appreciate that. It helps the channel out. And again, I will put the link right back in there for you folks to check it out. Make sure to follow the Etsy shop. Make sure if you're interested, you can order something if you want. I appreciate y'all. QR code also has it as well. That's not really also going on anything else I really plan to talk about tonight. So again, thank you all so much for joining in. I greatly appreciate it. Tonight's topic was one that is important for a lot of beekeepers, and I'm glad we're able to kind of get it done and talk about it a little bit. So again, thank you so much for watching. Click the thumbs up on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Also in the link in the description below, you can also find the Etsy link. You can also find my email subscription link. I haven't really talked about that a lot recently, but I also have an email newsletter. You can always subscribe to that as well. It's in the description below. So I appreciate y'all, and we will catch you next time. God bless everyone.